I think blessings from above and sacrifices of people around is what makes you. People see success mostly, but all the sacrifices which go behind is not seen. Politics requires a change because country can only be run through politics. Societies can only be run through politics. And for bringing that change in society and politics, we need that change in the people. And those kind of people have to be part of politics. You go through the pain, but in your heart, you know that the journey was fruitful. It's not about goal. It's not about a chair. It's not about achievement. The journey was fruitful because in that journey, you made a difference. I feel if as an individual you have any merit, things will discover you and you will do where your contribution or your living can be justified.
Namaste, Meenakshi ji.
Namaste.
It's such a Rudy. Whatever you prefer, that's fine. My handle is Hill Dog.
Hill Dog?
Dog.
Wow. Very, very loyal.
Yes, hill dogs are actually, there's a whole story behind it. But right now, let's focus on you because this is about you. And it's such an honor that you have taken time out to come and spend time with us at the Kanha studio. And you've been visiting Kanha. So I'd like to start with what do you think of this campus, this place, Kanha Shanti Vanam?
You know, I actually feel that Government of India runs a program under Ministry of Urban Development called Smart City. And Prime Minister had such huge dreams about having so many smart cities across the country. When I come here, I feel a whole lot of our people, especially, very qualified people, but inexperienced people. They may be engineers, they may be, from whichever institute. But practically how to make a smart city is something they have not imagined. So the moment you step into a place like Kanha, the first thought which comes to my mind is what is smart city without smart planning and without smart minds. So smart minds and smart planning is what Kanha is all about. And I completely relate to every program which under the leadership of Daji is going on. And a whole lot of you've dedicated yourself to the cause. But I've never felt like an outsider. I've always felt part of the game and part of the plan and also part of the ecosystem. Absolutely.
Part of the family.
Yes.
And you've also experienced heartfulness meditation
Absolutely.
Here. How is that experience of heartfulness meditation been for you?
So I have been in this process of meditation ever since a young kid, 12-year-old kinds.
Wow, that early?
Yeah, class 6th and all. But I get into practice, then I don't do practice for months and years on, then again I'll get back and again I'll leave. So off and on kind of a thing. Reconnecting with heartfulness, and I'm purposely using the word reconnecting because one has experienced meditation, but when you do heartfulness, it's a reconnection to yourself. So reconnecting to myself through heartfulness has been an experience that every time I sit, I feel very connected. And I have sort of procedures, very, you use this mantra, you don't use mantra, you use your body and meridians, or you don't use the meridians. You focus or you allow no focus. You want to be thoughtless or you want to be with thought. So systems vary a little with all kind of practices. But the purpose is the same. And the purpose is to be disconnected with everything around and yet to be connected to the cosmic consciousness. So you are moving fast and you are very slow. So this contradiction is something which cannot be expressed in words. This contradiction needs to be experienced, to be there, to be part of the process.
Wow.
So I
That's
feel.
beautifully put.
Thank you very much.
That's so
Thank
beautiful.
you.
The stillness in the speed,
Thank you.
So beautifully put. And you've also met Daji here when you've come.
Yeah.
How has that experience been?
I mean, he's one person who I feel absolutely connected to. Like a guru, like a teacher, master. I know he may not give a typical appearance. He looks like you and me. But there's something about him which immediately, and again, it's something you need to experience. It cannot be described. Words fall short in their meanings when you describe people like that. And I genuinely feel that this genuineness of purpose, supreme consciousness with which you stay connected, is something which all of us should experience and should become part of the larger good, because it's end of the day, all that we do as human beings is part of a thought process, and that thought process can be altered, and that alteration can bring positive results, or that alteration can bring negative results. We've seen it all across. We've seen it with ourselves as a civilization. And we've also seen now our neighbors, but erstwhile our own people, our own country. Look what has become of them, and how India, with all its problems, has tried to pull everyone together. And it all lies in the idea, it all lies in the thought. And you become creative by having creative thoughts. And yet you are submerged in the stillness of time. And that's what meditation and such practices do. So I think Daji manifests all those things and is actually representing that power, that consciousness, the supreme consciousness, and that supreme connection.
Lovely. How beautifully put. You also mentioned that you got you tried meditation in class 6. That must have been age 11, 12, around that age.
Yeah.
So what drew you to that? Was something in your childhood?
My parents drew me. I didn't go off my
So it wasn't a choice. It was
it was basically my mom and my dad. There was that time a Yogacharya ji called Bhaskaranand ji. I did not know anything about him till a few years ago, when I was visiting Punjab and I went to Ludhiana, and I learned he was a great Acharya of his times. And I immediately related that he'd come to Delhi, and I was dragged by my parents like a bacha, like, where will you leave?
Chalo, saath mein chalna hai.
So, bachcho ko kahan chodoge, to saath leke jaoge. So this was more like accompanying my mom and my father. But I'll tell you a very funny story. So he told me to do the dhyan with the point of the nose. So I did it, and I went deep in. And I think at that age, your perception is far greater, and you're,
absolutely sensitive,
more sensitive and less polluted, I would say. So he must have noticed something, and he must have felt that this girl's quick to pick up. And he said to my mom, this girl, you can give her to us, and she can become a, she could be part of the journey of yoga. And so my mother ran away and never went back.
She thought you were going to become a sannyasi.
Never went back. So this is the funny story.
That was a short-lived.
Yeah, very, very. No, but I continued. But he was very sweet. He gave me the tips that these are the asanas, and you have to sit in Padmasana, and you have to do this. And I will immediately, even till date, somebody looking at me will probably think, ye kya Padmasana karegi, ye kya Mayurasana karegi, but I can do. So a few
Yes.
things stay with you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So was this part of your family? Were they always interested in yoga or some sort of spiritual practice right from the beginning?
Part of the spiritual journey, no particular focus. My mom was a Brahmin, and all the puja part at home all the time.
Hmm.
No non-veg in her kitchen. And I come from a Punjabi family. My dad was a Punjabi. So completely non-vegetarian and
Yes.
completely vegetarian. So I've seen opposite sides while growing up. And the journey has been, you create impressions from all this. So for her, spiritual journey was, she was very firm with her belief, and you couldn't change her. Even my dad couldn't change her. She changed my dad.
Oh, okay.
And my dad would remain strictly vegetarian on certain days, Navratras.
Out of respect for
Yeah,
her.
yeah. So my mom influenced my dad in certain ways, but she did not change her faith at all and remained who she was and what she was. So those impressions I carry. So spirituality, by and large, I think as children we picked up from grandmother, from father. But fortunately, we got exposure to all kinds of things. So my grandmother was a Sikh. My Dadi was
Ji,
a
ji.
Sikh. So Japji Sahib and Guru Granth Sahib and all that also one
Of course.
has seen. And then my mom was a Brahmin. My dad was a Kshatriya. So one has seen all things in life and experience of little bit here there. So you know that there is a supreme being, in whether in the form of a being or in the form of energy. And there is some predetermined things in life which we can't really fathom with our small brains. But the best way to connect with all that energy is probably not through intelligence of the brain, but to experience the same with your heart and emotion. And that feeling is something to be felt. You cannot reason it out. So it's not as if it is unscientific, it's non-science, or it's voodoo, I call it. It's not voodoo, it's science. So probably the modern science is reaching where our ancient science was. And our ancient science was far superior in many ways. But we are trying to rediscover ourselves and
Absolutely.
rediscover the scientific roots which our philosophy and spirituality has.
So true, so true. And a lot of it perhaps is hidden from us because of the way we've been educated. Certainly, you know,
So,
some conditioning has come in, perhaps.
no, but then I have a slightly different opinion. We've been hit two ways. One is we were invaded upon, and because we became slaves, everything we did was not good enough because you've been enslaved. And that enslavement actually led to our enslavement of minds and all the good practices that we had in that society, because we were morally correct people. We were probably, before the Vienna Convention came, we had the rule that in wartime you don't attack the civilian population, you don't fight after sunset. We had our own rules. Now the people who were mauling us had no rules. We did not survive that system of utter brutality. Whatever we had in terms of knowledge systems and our science and technology of those times was usurped by others, was taken out and usurped or destroyed. So usurpation happened. A whole lot of our science went in one form or the other across the globe, but that never got the label of Indian science. Whereas, so many things, for example, Pythagoras' theorem, we all related to Greeks. Fibonacci number, we all related to Fibonacci, Roman civilization. But Fibonacci's original paper says he picked it up from Indians. Fibonacci says that.
Wow.
But nobody would mention that Fibonacci's written this in his papers that these things probably came from India, and this is how the series has come about. So he had the honesty to mark that. But people after him chose to ignore that fact, and usurpation of knowledge happened. That Fibonacci was a great man. I'm sure he was a great man because he told the truth. But for others, that Indians are not worthy of mention or even acknowledgement. And our science, mathematics, everything is taken away, which was discovered a few thousand years before it was done by the West, for example. So one is the usurpation. Second is the destruction. Third is the loss of faith and confidence, which Indians themselves went through. So in our own mind, post slavery, we got enslaved in our mind and could not break the shackles. When I meet people, even till date,
Yeah,
I
there's a
see
term,
that
colonization of the mind.
Yeah, and I see that string,
Hmm.
which is a string which is binding people in enslavement and not breaking through. I feel something which has been internalized for centuries. Maybe 10 years is not a good enough time to break those shackles, but it has to be a continuous effort. And I'm very grateful that the more we practice, the more we learn from each other, the more confident we get, and more we will be able to break those shackles, and the world will benefit from us. It's not just about us. It's about, we believe in greater goodness and
Humanity
greater
as a
goodness of humanity, of people, better systems, better people. I think the more we learn, the more we know. Can you imagine till about 1700 something, which is 18th century, British said it's impossible to corrupt Indians. 18th century. Just about 300, 400 years ago. Can you say the same today? This is how the degradations happen. When you are deprived, you're living a life of deprivation. You're not connected to the Supreme Consciousness. You become selfish and greedy and insecure. Everywhere you'll see destruction. And that is what has happened with other civilizations. And we are going through the same. So I just feel that all the people who have the power to change that mindset, that correction happens. And we are able to change our mind and are able to influence others' mind also in a positive way.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's where people like Daji come in. All those who are able to bring in that goodness in people.
Exactly. It's a kind of a deconditioning, and that's what
training your
meditation
mind.
and cleaning does. It's
Yeah.
So you chose to study law after after college.
Yeah.
So how did that happen? Was law part of the family?
Yes and no. So law was part of my mom's family.
Okay.
Her father was a cop. Her grandfather was a policeman. Her great-grandfather was also. Though they were Brahmins, but they went through a difficult phase. And
where were they from? Which part of?
They were Kashmiri Pandits.
Oh, okay.
So some, I don't know, 16th century or whenever, they were forced out of Kashmir and they migrated out.
Okay.
And then somehow Delhi was the place where they came to, and UP, Sambal and all. So my mom's chacha lived in Sambal, but her mother was from Sitaram Bazar, the old Kashmiri family.
Yes.
And her great-great-grandfather was Lachu Singh, the Lachu Singh ka Katra. Now imagine a Brahmin having a name called Lachu Singh. So how did that happen? Because they all picked up guns. And they all trained in martial things. They all chose the path from learning to physical training and the warlike situation which their probably family had gone through. And they were very influenced because my grandfather was in Punjab police. those times. And great grandfather of my mother was also from Punjab police. And Punjab meant the whole of Punjab from Pakistan to
Undivided
India,
Punjab, yeah.
undivided Punjab, including Haryana and Himachal Pradesh. That
A
is
huge area.
Huge area. And they're training all over. So Lahore, Shimla, Dakshai, all these places. And my mom was fluent with Punjabi reading and writing. So they were very influenced by the Punjabi culture. Many in their mind, they felt Punjabis were brave. They lived full on, and that's how intercaste marriage also happened. And so this is the background. And with this background, you inherit a lot of culture from all over,
of course,
from all sides. And you become who you become.
So law was influenced by your mother's side?
My mother's side, because in her family, they were my mama and her sister, my mosa, they were lawyers. And my grandfather, indirectly, now that was very stupid on my part because I was a kid, I didn't understand. He would say, Bade hokar district magistrate banna hai. Now, what on planet Earth would a person like me know what is a district magistrate? So 6th, 7th, 8th to push sambhala. The district magistrate in my imagination was black robe, black coat. Magistrate meant court.
Yeah.
So if one did not understand कि वो civil services बोल रहे हैं क्योंकि वो पुलिस वाले हैं, तो हमेशा पुलिस वाले को तो लाठी पड़ती है DM से.
Yes.
So DM controls the police and police hates him and understands that power structure. तो वो power structure की वजह से बोलते थे कि भाई superior जगह जाना है. I chose this path in my mind. I started imagining that I'm going to be a lawyer. And it's a different story that when your daughter is of certain age, so fathers get very worried कि कौन शादी करेगा, क्या होगा, और वकील लड़की से तो कौन ही करेगा. So that was part of journey. And when
So did your father actually have apprehensions?
Yeah. Very serious ones. And I actually fought my way.
So what was your father's background? He
was a business guy.
Business. Okay.
I told you he was
from the Punjab.
From Punjab background. He was a business fellow and lost his father very young. So after a certain age, the girls have to, and I'm talking of what? 32, 33 years ago.
Yeah.
So girls had to get married at a certain age. There was a expiry date.
और आप वकालत कर रही थी?
नहीं, वकालत कर नहीं रही थी, वकील बनना चाहती,
पढ़ रही थी. हाँ.
तो वो तो कि सीधा कि वकील नहीं बनना, बाकी कुछ बन जाओ. So anyway, that's a long story. So I told him, I said, बनना तो वकील ही है.
अरे वाह. So after finishing your law, you also started practicing. Did you face any, I mean, we people talk of glass ceilings these days, there are certain careers where women are not given equal opportunity. Did you face any of that at that time?
So I'll share a story. Whole lot of people study law. And when I was studying law, in my class, there were many women who were studying law. But only 13 girls entered the courts. 13. And out of those 13, within a span of 4-5 years, many were dropped out. And only 4-5 remained, and I don't see many of them even today. So every batch which was like above me, you could count the number of women lawyers. That was the situation. Situation has changed for good. So there is large number of women entering and larger retention also. So they may remain lawyers on paper, but they may actually be professors of law. They may actually be assistant professors, associate professors. They may actually run the companies. They may become general counsels or corporate law, or not necessarily the wakalat the way I understood wakalat in my times. I may also shift. That's a separate story. But for me, in my assessment of what lawyers are, was a black coat, a black robe, standing up in the court, arguing the matter, carrying your file, running from one court to the
Heading
other.
to another.
Yeah. So for me, that was what law meant. But today, with change in business practices, change in the way we operate, law has also got many applications. So, and many other formats of work.
Correct.
So, arbitration, mediation, corporate practice, and corporate, consultancy. It's more like business and professional businesses, service industry. So many different things, and even lawyers, people with law background can be part of management. So I laugh sometimes. Most of the time, we all think, for example, IMF chief. Who do you imagine an IMF person would be like?
A banker, obviously.
Economist.
Yeah.
Right?
Banker, economist, somebody from a financial.
Just check the number of lawyers who've occupied that.
Really?
seat. Yes. So law has that practice also. So law as a practice has changed. And lawyers, I call it plasticity of brain. Lawyers have that knack and plasticity. You give them anything, they're very quick to pick up. And within 10 minutes, they can switch gears. So I remember my husband is a non-science person who did not study science in college or anything. And I have seen him argue a doctor's matter on issue of negligence and about female anatomy and physiology.
Wow.
And I understand science. So for me to pick up that subject is easy in the sense like you can understand that she will be quick. But to see him argue that case, and it was an impossible case, the way he sort of argued, I was impressed. I say, this is a good lawyer's ability, that you could be arguing economics-based argument in a banking or a tender subject or whatever, or a financial matter. Next courtroom, you're arguing
something else entirely.
A doctor's matter. And right outside, you're giving an interview on cybersecurity. So that's the width and the span of your learning.
And you have to change from hearing to
one
hearing.
day you're handling. So when people will, say things about anyone, about me, I'll say, it's part of legal training. So lawyers have that. In defense of my community, I would say they have that knack of switching on like anything. They could just
and also switching off, because if you carry it all with you, my God, it would be impossible to function.
But they are very good with switching off also.
Yeah,
very, very good. And I often give that example. I say, every person must intern, no matter what you do in life, but must intern in courts for a month, 1 month, not more. 15 days, 1 month. Every child should be sent to court to work with a lawyer, to know how much work goes in, number one. Number two, how to switch on and switch off. And how to have cordial relationship with people who you've just abused in the court. So you've just gone to the court and you say, my learned friend is an idiot of the first order. And he'll say, how dare you call me an idiot? He's a rogue. And then after you finish your arguments related to the case, you've been very personal in attacking each other. You are not even stepped out. You're still at the door. Aisa chal coffee pila raha hai kya?
Yeah. Wow.
So that's the quality which I think most human beings should understand and appreciate, because once you're a lawyer lawyer for life, and that's no matter where you go in the world, you'll always come back to your cafe and canteen and courtrooms, and you'll always look at each other. You don't want to have a sullen face. You should be able to say hello and bache kaise hain and babi ji kaisi hain.
So move on from
yeah. And that's such a positive attitude. I think people need to understand. And then that also does not mean you're going to give any concession in the court.
No quarters.
You'll be as rude.
Yeah.
You'll be as blatant as horrid.
But it stays in the court.
But it stays in the court.
Yeah.
Door and you change on. So switch off immediately. Switch on and switch off.
So you mentioned that you were one of the few
women
to kind of stick on.
Yeah.
So what was it? What was so rewarding about it that aapne socha ki you must carry on?
Many things happen. I must say that I was lucky many ways. I have been blessed. Uh, I married a man who would bear up with my nonsense all the time, which he continues to, and is a very, very good lawyer. So that flexibility of carrying on with family, with profession, library, drivers, maids, all that support becomes very, very necessary.
Absolutely.
So I had it all. And that padding, which, people have to struggle, I can only say I was blessed that God wanted me to deliver on few things, and I did it because all this paraphernalia was provided. So I would not take the credit alone and for myself. No. I think blessings from above and sacrifices of people around is what makes you. You only get the credit, but that's not the truth.
It's a group effort. Huh?
It's always, so people see success mostly, but all the sacrifices which go behind is not seen. And
So true.
sacrifices are not just yours, but sacrifices are by the people who are emotionally attached to you. They make the biggest sacrifice. Unquestioning, unconditional support is what you get from so many people. And I think that's what makes it worth an effort. And life is worth an effort. And I feel that a whole lot of people who came in my life and who, of course, the family, number one is the family, who were taking the brunt for all the rubbish you were doing in life. And credit to them first, and then all your friends who support you in the journey. All those who sort of have faith in you when you're down and out. They have faith in you, which is so important. And I think it's that effort which goes into making a person a person. And
So
only then, once you are happy and satisfied within and content, that's what you vibrate. That's what you give. So I think this understanding is important.
Absolutely. So after law, how did the jump to politics happen? How did that?
I did not play any games. Even being in politics, I did not play many games. I think destiny pulls you to itself. And you just get sucked in without any plan or desire, or you just sort of, I call it illusional journey. You just live that illusion. But thankfully, I have no delusion of being more important than I am. I have no delusion that these things are, there's no permanence about all this. And whatever destiny, whether you call it destiny, you call it God, you call it supreme consciousness, has a plan for you, you'll follow that plan. The circumstances will search you. If things have to happen, the right person will come from God knows where, and things will happen. If things are not to happen, the right person will not be there, and you'll keep missing the bus all the time. So I think it's a collective good, collective effort, collective living, collective destiny of us as a nation, of us as families, of us as individuals, which all kind of comes together or disappears, whichever way you look at. You are, I call it, we are who? A grain of sand in this huge universe, and we only follow the instructions.
Yeah, but it's so refreshing to hear that, because it's like, we are given the impression that people in public life, it's all about them. Whereas, it's your approach has always been that it's a flow. You are going with the flow in a sense. Huh?
So I would say public life, people in public life are people from the public. And public has all kinds of people. So those people could be in profession, those people could be writers, those people could be anchors, those people could be lawyers, doctors. So those people could be whatever. It's individuals who make that journey possible. And all kinds of people are in public life. So there are people of this kind also.
But it's also an extremely challenging being in politics has many challenges, and one of the greatest challenges, of course, is your time, because your time, everybody demands your time. There's very little time left for family. How did you navigate that?
No, I always say, and that's where I mentioned that it's not about you, it's what family goes through. They are the last priority in the scheme of things, because you take them for granted. And they are there no matter what you do. They love you and accept you unconditionally. They are not going, because you're away from home or you've reached home late, they're not going to throw you out. And it's not as if they'll stop feeding you. It's not as if they'll say, get lost. It's not as if they'll say, no money now. None of those things. Those things are for granted. ये तो होना ही है. ये तो क्या कैसे नहीं होगा. मतलब this is for granted. So you take those people for granted and they stand by you. And when people say, oh, I lived a very balanced life, I look at them and I say, rubbish. So my own experiences, life has been very, very imbalanced. Completely, delusional. And so sometimes you shift to one side, sometimes you shift to the other side, but there is no balance. 17, 18 hours of your day goes amongst people who you may know, you may relate to, or may not know and may never relate to. That's your life. How can it be balanced? It's impossible. It's imbalanced. And the only stability and balance could be, everyone has their own method. My method is late at night, before going to bed, I'll have some practice, or in the morning, I'll do some practice, yoga, meditation, prayer, something. That is the only stability you have. Or a totally impossible, unstable living. Unsustainable also.
It's extremely difficult, no doubt. So, but are there rewards also for youngsters watching this who are thinking about, actually very few youngsters now think about a life in politics as a first choice, but it would be good to encourage youngsters to get 100%. Involved.
Yeah. So I have a saying, and I'm using that saying in this context. So mostly people get put off by politics. It's almost like, yaar, desh ko shaheed to chahiye. Somebody has to die on the border. But let it be a neighbor's son. We need Bhagat Singhs, but wo mere ghar mein paida na ho, padausi
as long as he's not,
padausi ke ghar mein. तो अभी पॉलिटिक्स में लोग चाहिए ना, तो पड़ोसी क्यों भाई तुम्ही? Somebody will make that sacrifice. And I think if country needs to change, the politics also needs to change. People in politics also need to change. I'm sure we've made a lot of changes. 10 years have been a game changer in many ways, and everybody is seeing the result of that. But a possibility of making more changes exists. As I said, 18th century, 1700 something, we were a society which British vouched that it's impossible to corrupt these Indians. Until we corrupt, we cannot rule them. Can someone say that today? Should this change or should this not change?
Absolutely, it should.
It should. Then system also has to support incorruptible politicians. Does it support? Because we are shifting. We are transitioning, and transitions are always difficult for any person, any country, any family, any individual. Transitions are always tough, no matter, like, for me to transition from lawyer to a politician would have been tough, or vice versa. Because you've not planned, you've not created that system, and you're in the process of creating, working, doing. These are, getting out of your comfort zone is never easy. So politics requires a change, because country can only be run through politics. Societies can only be run through politics. And for bringing that change in society and politics, we need that change in the people. And those kind of people have to be part of politics. And the satisfaction, you said, the benefits. I don't know how people look at it, but for me, it has been a very personal journey. It has been a very satisfying journey, because whether somebody recognizes you or does not recognize you, and I'm sure people do recognize you for all that you've stood for or done, you in your heart are satisfied that whatever opportunity came my way, I worked in the interest of the country and the society, and I know what all contribution I have made. No matter what file came my way, no matter where I was asked for an opinion, no matter who approached, I've been helpful or doesn't. So this is a personal satisfaction. And I normally put it differently, and I say, we all live for our own adrenaline high. End of the day, we are adrenaline addicts.
Junkies, yeah.
Yeah, I'm also one of them, even at this age. So this adrenaline high, we have to figure out a way which gives us that high. So I'm very happy living in my own world, maybe delusional, that if something comes my way, from my perspective, whatever is in my capacity, I'll do it right. And that doesn't mean I have not made mistakes. That doesn't mean there have been no failures. That doesn't mean it was without cost. That doesn't mean I did not lose anything and I was a winner all through. No. You lost your time, you lost your health, you lost your energy. You were beating about a bush, you were banging your head against a wall. People less competent were getting places. So all wrongs also, you go through the pain.
Yes.
But in your heart, you know that the journey was fruitful. It's not about goal. It's not about a chair. It's not about achievement. The journey was fruitful because in that journey, you made a difference. And if you can live with that thought, you're very high. So I think in my case, I'm always in that high energy zone because I always have that confidence and that faith that I did right. And I call it arrogance of being right also.
So was your grandfather who at first suggested that you become a district magistrate? Was he around to see you become Minister of External Affairs?
My parents were also not around. I lost my parents very early on. And my grandparents also. There was none who was around. None of my four parents, my in-laws, my parents, they were not around.
How do you think he would have felt? You know, he wanted you to be DM because the DM pushes the...
No, I'm sure.
But you were in a position that you could, any DM would be at your beck and calls.
That's what one would think, but that's not really true. But I'm sure I have received lots of blessings. And no matter which animate, inanimate form they are in, they would have blessed me. And I'm very, very sure that all the souls who sort of were part of my journey as a child, later in life, I have many blessings. And I think wherever they are, they would have been with me in this journey. And but for them, I wouldn't have been where I am. Just imagine,
Absolutely.
I planned nothing. I mean, people just came and helped and supported. How does that happen in life? You asked for a cup of tea, people wouldn't give you that. But here I got fed, I got looked after by people. Unless there were blessings on your side, you don't receive that affection. And I've received so much of affection, so much of positive energy. But for those people who are maybe not there in the human form, or maybe in another form, or another human form, we don't know.
Absolutely. There's so much we don't.
Yeah,
There's so much we don't know.
The blessings, the positivity stays.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's so much. We're actually out of time, but there's so much you've achieved. I mean, you've been a lawyer, Supreme Court. You've been practicing in the Supreme Court. You've also been a minister, external affairs, culture. What does the future hold? Do you want to take it easy now in the future, or there are other things on your agenda?
I leave it to God. I'm not someone who's hooked on to things or places or chairs. But I feel if as an individual you have any merit, things will discover you. And you will do where your contribution or your living can be justified. So I don't know. I seriously don't know. I don't want to decide also, because they never decided anything. I just changed, like, can you imagine? Class 12th, was going to do something else, didn't make it, ended up doing BSc Botany Honours, moved on to law, practiced, gave up, started writing, ended in politics. I don't know what's in my life, what's there, and I've never planned. So I'm sure all those forces which have looked after me so far will look after me. And they will find a use for me.
I'm sure. There's only one thing we hope for, that you keep coming back to Kanha.
Absolutely. That I'm very clear. That I'm sure that hope, faith, connect is always going to be there.
Okay.
And that maybe at times I'm also someone who takes things for granted. So I'm warning you that even if I take you for granted, don't mind it.
No, absolutely. It would be an honor. It would be an honor.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's been wonderful talking to you. And thank you so much for sharing so candidly, and also just taking out the time. I know you still have a day ahead of you.
I do.
But thank you so much, Meenakshi.
Thank you so much, Rudresha.
Thank you
and really talking to you. It was, again, soulful connection, heartful connection.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
It's the space and that makes all this possible.
So much of positivity.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of KanaCast. Do subscribe to KanaCast on YouTube, Instagram, and Spotify. Until the next episode, from the entire KanaCast team, namaste and goodbye.